to a Couple of Bills podcast. Featuring Matt and Kim Bills.
Oh my God. Here we are. Episode 1. I'm Matt Bills.
And I'm Kim Bills.
And this is a Couple of Bills podcast.
Episode 1. Here
Episode
we go.
1. So, admittedly, we're both pretty uncomfortable. We've never done a podcast before, so we're pretty excited. We're actually very excited. So, yeah. And what's cool is that we're going to bring you guys along every step of the way. So you'll get to listen to us, screw things up and figure out the best, format for unpacking the last 15 years plus of our life and what brought us to this point. Like any podcast, at least for us, we like to kind of know who the hosts are, understand their background. Just helps us kind of get a connection. And so we're certainly going to do the same thing here. So this first episode, just to kind of set the stage, is really going to be about meeting us and understanding who we are and why in the world you should be listening to this podcast and what it's about. So for the first thing, I'm going to just throw it out there. And Kim's looking at me real funny.
Where is this headed?
Because she doesn't know what I'm going to say. So here's the thing. We're millionaires. Isn't that weird?
Yeah.
Is that a strange thing to say out loud, to hear?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. It makes you uncomfortable, doesn't it? So here's the thing. The reason why we're just going to just punch you in the face with that right in the beginning is, there are a lot of, gurus or, self-help people out there who, have, either have built a platform or in the process of building a platform, but haven't exactly accomplished a whole lot in their life. We're certainly not going to sit here and list any names. And this is not that type of podcast. I mean, we're more about building people up and encouraging people to do their thing. But we want this podcast to have more substance. Right. We don't want to just spout off, quotes that we heard from people who inspire us, although I'm sure there will be some of that. We want to actually give you actionable information and things that you can relate to and things that will actually, fire you up to get you to, attack whatever thing you've been thinking about to improve your life. And I think the only way by doing that is actually giving you real life examples. And we're going to be as honest as we possibly can. I wonder how many times Kim's going to be like, yeah, you can go ahead and cut that out.
Well, I wasn't expecting it to really begin this way either. So,
well, I think
I don't really know what I'm in for.
I know it's weird, and it's and I know it's, again, money is.
Yeah, this isn't all going to be money related or even financial type of discussion. It's not a lot more than that.
Yeah, 100%. But I think, a lot of people, in our daily life ask us for advice when it comes to business and money and just managing our life in general. And so, this is a big part of it. And again, we just want to give you guys, some legitimacy that we're not just talking out of our ass. We do know what we're talking about in many regards. There's also a lot of things that we don't know about and things that we are still learning about every single day. And frankly, we're going to talk about that stuff in pretty great detail in the coming episodes.
A lot of what got us to where we are today was trial and error.
Complete trial and error.
And that's the type of thing that we'll definitely dive into.
Absolutely. For sure. So I guess to, start from millionaire and work our way back, let's talk about how we met.
Oh my gosh. So decades ago.
Yeah. So
feels like it.
We've been married for 173 years.
Mm-hmm.
And, It's been great. It's been great.
It's been a walk in the park.
Yeah, sure. Yep.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Sometimes that park's on fire though. And
a little bit. Yeah. There's a little bit of that.
But that's okay. That's okay. So yeah, let's go back. So we both grew up in military families. My dad was in the Army.
Go Navy.
Yep. Your dad was in the Navy. And it was definitely a really awesome way to grow up. And I imagine you agree, but tell me if you don't. But I mean, it's one of those things that you don't really appreciate at the time.
Exactly. I mean, we got to travel the world at such a young age. Looking back, I, like many teenagers in this situation, wasn't super appreciative of what I was living at the time. I went to 4 different high schools in 2 different countries. It was definitely something that I think is not appreciated at the time in many situations, but looking back, it was amazing. And I know you had you were born in Germany.
I was born in Nuremberg, Germany in the year of our Lord, 1987. So one thing you guys are going to learn pretty quickly about me is that for some reason, anytime a microphone is put in front of my face.
Oh, gosh. I don't think it has to do with the microphone. I think people know you.
Yeah, that's probably true.
This is just Matt Bills.
That's true. By the way, just to set the scene here before we go any further, we're sitting in our kitchen, in our house, which I didn't really need to say because I don't think we'd be sitting in someone else's kitchen. But we're sitting in our kitchen and our dining room table in our house in Bellevue, Nebraska, which is a city right outside of Omaha, the oldest city in Nebraska. Fun fact. And we're actually this weekend, we're starting construction on our more official podcast studio down in the basement we never seem to use, but we figured that'd be a good use for that space. So, but for now, we're going to be in the kitchen.
Yes.
Yeah. So anyway, all right. So going back to, so I was born in Nuremberg, Germany. Growing up in a military family was awesome. It was kind of like Kim, what you were saying. I mean, you get to travel around, you get to do stuff. I mean, come on, we got to do stuff that it was like, we do stuff on a weekend that most people plan for years.
Oh yeah. In
order to do. I lived a number of years. Well, I was born in Germany, and as the story goes, for most military brats, moved all over the place. But eventually went back to Germany in high school, and to be in high school in Europe with virtually, and not to make my parents sound like they weren't keeping an eye on us, but with virtually, you're kind of given a past to kind of... Just
go ahead and say it. It sounded like you had no rules. I've heard these stories.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't have a lot. Yeah, exactly. I mean, I was allowed to go out and experience the culture.
Oh my gosh.
Whatever that means. Anyway, so...
But it was like that living on military bases.
Yeah.
I kind of feel like...
certainly in military bases, are generally pretty, fairly safe communities, and you can kind of just roll around and do your thing. But being overseas, it's just a whole nother thing. I mean, my friends and I I was, a skateboarder, which we'll talk more about, but, that's pretty much all we did is we got our skateboard, we'd jump on a train. So you're talking a couple of 13, 14, 15-year-olds jumping on a train and just going from city to city throughout Europe skateboarding. And and by the way, for those who don't know, doing that while you live in Europe is relatively inexpensive. That's one of the benefits, I guess, of living over there as either in the service or a family member of someone in the service, because there's pretty cost-effective ways to travel around and see stuff that most people never even dream of. And you got to live in Japan.
Yeah, when we lived in Japan, we went to Saipan, Guam. I mean, from what my parents have told me, like you said, it was very inexpensive to do that. So we got to really see a lot while we were over there. Amazing culture. That was, I would go back there for sure. It was incredible.
Yeah, that's definitely, the only time you and I have been in Japan together was in the airport.
Yeah.
That's pretty much it.
Yep.
So it's once of course, just I guess to say it, we still are in the middle of a pandemic,
Right.
worldwide pandemic. So traveling overseas isn't really an option, but I hope that in the, not too distant future, when the world can get back to some level of normalcy, whatever that will look like, hopefully we'll be able to go back, and I'd love to go visit Japan, and
Yeah.
love to take you around Europe and
Yeah, for sure.
do all that stuff. That'd be fun. So
Be amazing.
yeah. So anyway, we
So we met in 2003.
2003,
right?
yeah.
In Carlisle, Pennsylvania. Both of our dads were stationed there.
Yep, they
at
were
the Army War College.
Yep, Army War College. They're getting their master's degrees there, and we actually shared a driveway.
We were next door neighbors.
We were. Oh my god.
My family moved there, and I stayed back and visited a friend of mine in Washington. So my parents moved there in the summer. Your family was already there, and you met my brother first, my younger brother,
I did.
because you guys are both skateboarders.
We're both skateboarders, and then
And then didn't he say something about how he had this older sister coming soon? And
yeah. Yep. So that's
and so I get there, and my brother's, how old was he? 11?
maybe.
I think 11-ish.
Yeah,
and
maybe
he's
11.
like, the neighbor boy wants to meet you.
Yes, I did.
And the rest is history, I guess.
Yeah, I completely violated bro code and started, dating my my friend's sister. But I was a skater boy.
And we were next to each other for just 1 year, right?
Yeah, it was just 1 year. I was in 10th grade.
Yeah.
You were in 11th grade. We went to Carlisle High School for that 1 year, which I still have nightmares about to this day for some reason.
Don't you have nightmares about all of high school?
Yeah. Yeah. What you guys will, I'm sure we'll approach it at different times throughout this podcast, but yeah, wasn't a huge fan of school.
I loved school.
I know.
No,
which is actually really hilarious. You had straight A student over here. That's, by the way, I'm not referring to myself.
Can I get an applause here from the straight A's?
So we have this. So
kidding.
just so you know, we're
it
using.
was not straight A's.
Well, just so you know, not to tell you completely how the sausage is made, but we have the Rodecaster Pro in front of us, and it
lots
has
of colorful buttons.
There's lots of colorful buttons, and they make sounds, and these are all the stock sounds that came with it. So I will be adding our own, of course, but there's a little bit of applause there.
Thank you.
You're
I
welcome.
appreciate that.
So yeah, Carlisle, Pennsylvania. So anyway, and what's really crazy is we actually, so as usual when it comes to growing up in a military family, you usually stay somewhere a year, 2 years, 3 years if you're really lucky. And our year was quickly coming to an end, and your parents had orders to
Offutt Air Force Base.
Offutt Air Force Base, Nebraska. So that's how Kim ended up here, and we were going to Germany. So we pretty much knew. I mean, we both didn't want to accept that we were probably going to break up, but I think we both knew that. I mean, I'm moving to another country, so who knows? I mean, we would have tried to work it out. But then what's crazy is right before.
Right.
I mean, literally. I mean, I think it was within days.
Yeah.
Of our movers showing up, my dad's orders changed to Virginia. So
at least you were staying in the States.
So at least,
now.
at least I'd be in the States, and it'd be a lot easier for us to talk and visit each other. So yeah, I moved to Virginia. Kim, you moved to Nebraska.
Yep.
And
finished out my senior year here. Senior
year in high school. Yep.
Yep.
And you went to Papillion La Vista, right?
Yep.
And so then I went to Woodbridge, Virginia for 11th grade, and then Springfield, Virginia for 12th grade.
Mm-hmm.
And what's kind of cool is over those years, shout out to our parents for being cool about this. They let us visit each other.
Yeah.
Which was,
we worked that entire time to be able to do that. So
yeah, and that's one of the things that we're going to talk about are, the foundational principles that kind of got us to this point. And one of those principles was the desire to work. We wanted to work. We wanted to make our own money.
Absolutely.
And enjoy the freedom that comes along with, having a couple bucks in your pocket.
Yeah.
Even as a teenager, you get $100. $100, I'd be able to take Kim on a date, go to dinner, go to see a movie. That was a big deal.
Yeah. Did you take me on $100 dates? $100 dinners?
Girl, my last name's Bills.
Yeah. So we were able to fly back and forth visiting each other for 2 years because we worked hard for that reason. And one summer, at least, you stayed the entire summer here.
I did, yeah.
And got a job here.
Yeah, I came out. I applied for a summer job on base. And stayed out here the whole summer. We stayed at your house. And
yep, you shared a bunk with my brother.
I did. Yep. Shout out to Mike Benner, by the way.
Yes.
Hello, Mike. I'm sure we'll. Kim's brother is a he and his wife manage a company together called Always Dependable Handyman Services, and it's doing very, very well. And
They're amazing.
I'm sure we are going to have them on the podcast at some point to kind of tell us about their whole journey. So anyway, bunk beds. I had top bunk. Mike's no wait. Did I? Yeah.
I think you did.
I
think Mike did.
I don't know.
Super important fact. We need to find this out.
Also, for sure. Anyway.
We'll be sure to update everybody.
Yeah. Be sure to subscribe to make sure you come back and find out.
Learn about the sleeping arrangement.
Oh my God. So anyway, so I worked, summer hire job, saved up money to go back to Virginia after that summer and buy my first car, which was awesome. Yeah.
Both
So
bought our own first cars.
Yep. Did that.
High school.
So finished high school, and actually what's kind of cool is the spring break before I graduated, because you were already in your first year of college.
Yes.
At Bellevue University.
When you graduated high school, I drove out there.
Oh, sorry, I was fixing something on my microphone.
I drove out there to go to your graduation, of course, and then that morning after you graduated, we loaded up your car, and drove from Virginia to Nebraska.
Yeah.
And got our first apartment.
Yeah. And we actually had our first apartment squared away.
Yeah. Oh, right. Because during that spring break before graduation.
Yeah. During my senior year, spring break, came out to Nebraska with my mom.
Yeah.
Because I wasn't old enough to.
Right. You have to be 19 in Nebraska to sign for an apartment. Yeah. Which we weren't.
Yeah. I was 18.
I was 17 when I graduated high school.
Yeah.
So
yep.
We were too young.
So, thankfully.
But we were determined.
We were very determined. And so, shout out to my parents for
seriously, they were awesome.
For co-signing.
Your mom came out here super supportive of the idea of us getting an apartment, living together.
Yep.
At such a young age, and literally the day after you graduated high school.
Yeah, and fun story.
Fun.
Oftentimes, obviously when you graduate, you have a little bit of a graduation party with your family, and my my extended family members were very generous, and I had an envelope of.
Oh gosh, I really was afraid you were going to tell us.
Of money, and it wasn't like a crazy amount of money, but it basically the majority of it was money that I had saved up.
Yeah.
From working, and I basically took out all that money, so that I could. It was
all in cash, in an envelope.
So that I could. Which, by the way, why didn't I just get a cashier's check?
I don't know. You probably wanted to see what it looked like.
For sure. That is 100% true. Anyway,
that's Matt.
Yeah, that's me. Anyway, so what's kind of funny is I had this envelope, and I don't know, there may have been like what $4,000, 3,000.
It was, I'd say 2.
Yeah,
I mean,
it probably wasn't.
It was not. It was a lot. It was a
yeah.
lot. But
I mean, I still view $2,000 as a lot of money.
Of course.
But, at that time when you're 18, I
Yeah.
mean, that's a fortune. So anyway, I had it in an envelope and I threw it in the trash.
Oh, you're going to take the blame?
Okay, sorry. I'll back up then.
I thought we were.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Kim threw it in the trash.
I mean,
and
you were not happy.
Well, no, because I remember.
may have denied it for a while. Maybe I never came clean. Is this me coming clean
I think
right
this might
now?
be an exclusive.
Oh, shoot.
173 years later.
Wow,
Yeah, that's
Matt.
crazy.
Geez, why'd you throw that away, Matt?
That's crazy. Oh, by the way, just for reference,
We found it. Let's just say we found.
I don't know.
Did
Do we tell what our ages? Do we say what our ages are?
No, and I think that's probably
Important.
yeah. I mean, that's kind of why we led with what we led with.
Yeah.
How old am I? 33.
I'm 33.
Oh, we're both 33.
We're both 33.
Great.
Okay.
33.
Awesome. All right. So yeah, we got in the car, drove out, blah blah blah.
Yeah. So been living together since 2006. We kind of did things backwards. Did the whole we're gonna live together, then we're going to buy our first place, then get a dog, then get married.
A cat.
Oh, there's the cat. Yeah.
Yeah.
Can't forget that guy.
Yep. So this is where we kind of start getting into a little bit more detail around some of the key financial things that kind of set us up to, I guess, just started to really pour our foundation. Now, before we go any further, I want to make clear that, even, and I know that this is not the norm. We know enough people and we've seen enough people in different relationships that, we know this isn't the norm. But as teenagers, we both talked about money. We both talked about money, and at the time, the importance of saving.
Right.
And I say at the time,
Right.
because fast forward to, the last, I don't know, decade maybe, there's still a priority on saving, but we have a much, much greater understanding of the importance of investing.
And just financial management as a whole.
Sure.
That should not be synonymous with saving money.
Correct.
There's so much more
Totally.
that should be prioritized.
Right. So early on, you and I were very, very open about our finances and what our financial goals were.
Oh, yeah.
And we were very, very methodical in how we budgeted and how we, kind of figured out exactly, just how we budgeted, really. I mean, that's
Right.
really what it comes down to, and how we are going to, start to build emergency funds and start
Right.
to give ourselves more financial security. Now, granted, keep in mind, we're in our late teens
Yeah.
at the time.
But we got Excel going on our computer, and we, as basic as it may have been in terms of the spreadsheet, we had a spreadsheet going, and we put a plan together. We looked at our budget. We talked about it. We talked about our goals, and we stuck with that type of discipline.
Yeah, I have vivid memories of us sitting in our 1-bedroom apartment in Papillion.
Yep.
And just
La
sitting
Vista,
there.
actually.
Oh, and
Yeah.
then just pulling up our eMac
Oh, yes.
computers. The big.
Weighed about 85 pounds.
It had to have. It was ridiculous. we had the big. I think they were white.
Yeah.
That's right. They were white.
Yeah.
Oh my God, that was ridiculous. Anyway, but I just have vivid memories of us sitting in our apartment on a Friday night.
Yep.
With YouTube was still.
Was that even?
It was around.
Okay.
It was around, but obviously it was nothing like it is today. But there were definitely some videos out there that that we kind of watched to start to educate ourselves. But really, a lot of it was just us sitting down. Even though we didn't have a lot of money to work with, we still sat down in Excel and just sat there and just brainstormed how can
Yeah.
we maximize what we're doing with our money.
Oh, we used to watch Susie Orman, which we laugh about now, but seriously, we wanted to learn anything we could, whatever resources were out there.
Yeah.
We wanted to learn and just see, does this match our goals? Does this apply to us? Is this something we want to implement?
Exactly.
It was always something we wanted to continue educating ourselves about.
Yeah. And since you mentioned one of the gurus out there, that is certainly has, are brilliant in their own right. And, it's really important. And I think it's going to be a theme in this podcast is we don't subscribe to any one person for
Not
anything.
at all. And in fact, we're probably a little far from her today. Like we've evolved and just decided.
Very much so.
We have very different priorities.
And that's the kind of the thing that I think is important to remember when figuring out a person to, hey, if I were to ever give advice, it would always be, and I think we would give the same advice is, figure out what works best for you and your family and your goals based on where you're at in your life and where you want to be.
Absolutely.
It's, because a lot of times, there are methods or people who basically have this one lane of this is the belief, this is what you're supposed to do, and that's it. And I just don't think that's applicable all the time.
Definitely not. And same with this podcast that we're doing. We're going to share our stories and, talk about maybe things that we recommend doing, but this is not going to, everything we say won't apply to everyone. It's all about taking bits and pieces from different people's strategies. And that's what I do every single day. I love podcasts. I'm always listening to things. And I might be on a completely different path from the person hosting whatever podcast I'm listening to, but there will still be things I can take from that and apply to our situation.
Definitely.
And that's our goal for this.
Absolutely. So as you're listening to this and future episodes, definitely take a step back and think about, how can I apply this? Is it relevant to what I want? And yeah, like Kim said, bits and pieces.
Absolutely.
So with that said, I lost my train of thought. So you're probably going to find that I lose my train of thought on occasion. There's a lot going on up there.
Well, let's see. So we're living together, working. So we both started going to college, our undergraduate degrees at Bellevue University at the time. And we also didn't have the traditional college experience. And that was by choice.
Yes. You and I had no interest.
We didn't.
We truly had zero interest in going to school all day and then living in a dorm. And,
right.
And again, it's, to each their own and do your thing. But
of course, that's
for
not
us,
going to.
No, but for us, we knew early on, we sat there and this was a very, I want to be clear, this was a very deliberate choice.
Exactly.
And nobody knows exactly how it's going to play out long term. But at the time, our thought was, listen, we don't need to go to the most expensive school in the country. We certainly don't need to do that. We value education. So let me be very clear. We value education. Do we think, and I'm not going to go off on too much of a tangent here because this could be an entire podcast about our education system. I'll be the first person to say I think it's criminally expensive. I think it's complete insanity what a lot of universities charge.
Yeah.
It's for someone to graduate with literally hundreds of thousands of dollars in student debt is just completely insane. But, we made a choice. We said we wanted to get into the workforce. We wanted to get in as quickly as possible and start, getting experience and then go to college at night.
Right.
And that's what we did.
Yeah. My first year of college, before you moved out here, I was going during the day. I was going to classes 8 a.m. to 2:30. And then I knew I still wanted to work full time. So I 3:30 to midnight every night would go to ADT Security Services and work in the call center.
That's right.
So still getting that, office type of work experience that I knew I wanted under my belt because I was working toward a undergraduate degree in business. But then, yeah, as soon as you came out here, I switched to working full-time during the days and attending full-time courses in the evenings.
Yep. Yeah. So
it wasn't easy.
No,
but it was worth it.
It was actually fairly difficult. I would say it was more than fairly difficult. It was there were times where we had pretty opposite schedules.
Yeah.
We didn't really see each other
right
for what felt like days at a time.
Yeah.
But again, that's kind of where it was. One of the themes that we're going to talk about is, and by no means are we in a position to give people relationship advice, and this is not that type of podcast.
No.
But I will say though that doing what we've done to get to this point, I don't know if that would have been possible if we weren't aligned with what we wanted out of life.
Right.
And the fact
aligned goals and support for each other.
Support. So I promise we'll get back to our growing up, and so we're gonna go off on some tangents. It's just there's a lot to unpack, guys. There's a ton to unpack, so just bear with me.
And we won't unpack it. We won't unpack it all in this first episode.
Oh my gosh, no.
We're not.
It's gonna take we're
not doing that to you guys, but this is
we're laying the groundwork.
A nice
here.
Little tidbit.
Yeah. Without this, everything we have done, we have supported each other. We have taken a lot of risks over the years, very calculated risk, but still risk. Some risk that a lot of people couldn't stomach. I'd probably argue that most people would have a trouble stomaching.
And we're aligned with our goals, but you and I actually do have slightly different tolerances for risk. And I remember us having that discussion sitting in our little apartment.
Oh, for sure. Oh, absolutely. There were times where I wanted to hold on to our little bit of money, and you wanted to invest it somehow or do something.
I'm a little more.
Yeah. And then we would flip flop.
Risk.
We would flip flop. And then, so now we're kind of to a point where there's still a little bit of that for sure. I think Kim would probably buy another investment property every day.
I look every day.
But anyway, my point being is that, if you are in a relationship, we have found that it is so incredibly important to be open and honest about your goals. Talk about your money.
You have to
talk about your money. We don't, there have been pieces of our journey that I guess we could file under traditional in terms of in terms of us going to college and doing that kind of thing. But what we have learned over the years is that to have what we consider to be an extraordinary life, there's nothing traditional about it. In many regards, there's nothing traditional about it. Again, if you're thinking about, the traditional ways of growing up and the order in which you're supposed to do things and that kind of thing, we've kind of strayed away from that. But anyway, no matter how much work we were doing, no matter how crazy our schedules were, and this is all the way until today, the one thing that we don't do is give each other shit about working. Ever.
Right.
Ever.
Yeah.
We both understand that in order to live the life that we want to live, and in order to do the things we want to do and have the freedom that comes along with this life, is that we have to be there for each other and not give each other shit for working and running our businesses and doing our thing.
Right.
I mean, that is just a fact. Like if I came home every day, or if Kim came home every day and we were giving each other shit about, oh, you're working too much, you're doing this, you're doing that. Well, why don't you come spend time with me, blah, blah, whatever. I mean, I don't know how, excuse me. I don't know how we would be sitting here.
And that's not to say we don't have a quality of life. Like, I think that's something that people think that if you're working to the level, if you're working the amount of hours that you just described, that it's sacrificing us seeing each other or having any time together. And that is not the case.
No, the quality of life is the quality of life that we've created for ourselves.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. Take that little soundbite. All right, so back to our early 20s.
Oh gosh, no.
All right, so anyway, and by the way, early 20s in our apartment, not making a ton of money. I think I was making, I want to say I was making maybe
25,000,
maybe even a little less.
22,000, I believe, a year.
Yeah, exactly. So 22 to 25,000 for those early 20s. Kim was making more. I think she was probably high 20s, early 30s.
32. Well, no, that was when I started at First Data.
Yeah,
is when I was like, oh man, I'm in the 30s.
Yeah, right, exactly. Yeah, I remember that.
It was lower before that.
So yeah, household income less than $60,000, and
less than 50.
One of the key, I guess, the cornerstones that we're going to go into in a whole lot of detail in future episodes is it is not about how much money you make. It is about what you choose to do with your money.
Yep.
I mean, that is.
It is.
We were, and again, there are so many tangents we're going to go off here, but I'll put it this way. We were not making a fortune when we started to acquire multiple properties.
Oh, not at all.
No. I think, and by the way, we own like 10 businesses, and we're going to go into all of those at some point. But I think there's a misconception that in order to get into whether it be real estate investing or just starting your own business, whatever that may be, that you have to have this shit ton of capital to do that. And that couldn't be further from the truth. Mm-hmm. I mean, obviously it depends on what line of business you're going into, but still you don't have to have this safe full of money to start down whatever, path you want to go down. But anyway.
Yeah. And so I think one thing that we really just want people to understand as we're getting started with this podcast is, so that's where we started. We're normal people. We, at this point in time, you and I are both self-employed. We're entrepreneurs. We didn't come from a family of business owners. This isn't something that, we really knew how to do when we first started this. We just knew when we lived together, even back in 2006, when we first moved in together, when we were talking about our goals and our priorities, we knew that we wanted to work hard. We knew where we wanted to get financially. And again, being in our early 20s, we knew we didn't want to go out every night, spending all of our money at a bar or just going out and kind of doing that type of party scene. We were very deliberate in what we wanted to accomplish long term. And we just jumped in feet first and ran with it. YouTube, I mean, apparently it was around. I just wasn't cool enough to really know about it yet, I guess. But we weren't, today YouTube videos can give you so much information, podcasts, all of that is at your fingertips. And back then I feel like we just kind of decided, hey, we're going to navigate the world of investing. We're going to maybe try buying some stocks with $200, mm-hmm. Whatever it was. We just knew that where we wanted to put our money and our energy and effort was into growing this type of a life for ourselves. Yep. We had no idea where it was going to take us. No. We never knew, oh my gosh, if we had sat down in 2006 and said, you know what, I think in 15 years, we're both going to be self-employed. That was crazy to think that we would totally be self-employed business owners. I mean, never in a million years did we think that's where our journey would take us. We just knew that we wanted something big and we wanted to spend our time working toward an amazing life.
Yeah, absolutely. So one thing that we want to commit to you guys is that we're going to be as transparent as possible. And we understand very well that everybody comes from different backgrounds and some people have different advantages than others. And one I would call advantage that we had is that our parents paid for our undergraduate education.
Yeah, that amazing.
That was a massive gift.
Yes.
That, you know,
it allowed us to begin our adulthood without feeling like we were already a step behind or already had to overcome that.
That was huge. And we still, even to this day, we still talk about the fact that situation that obviously we're very thankful to be in. I mean, that was a key in starting a trajectory that would eventually be, the next 15 or 16 years.
Right.
So yeah, I mean, it is incredible. I mean, it's kind of funny. I obviously I was working full time and going to school at night, and I felt bad a lot. Feeling bad's probably the wrong term, because I didn't need to feel bad, but I felt bad that my parents are paying for my college, even though they had planned for it.
Yeah.
And so,
I think you were just very grateful that they were willing to do that.
Yeah, that's a better way of saying that. I was so grateful that I was going to get out of college without owing any money to anybody, that I just started paying my parents.
Yeah, started sending them checks.
Start sending them checks every month. Granted, it wasn't for the full tuition.
No.
But, when you're making,
it was as much as you could.
It was sometimes it's $500 a month, which,
Right.
by the way, to a 22-year-old is like,
Yeah.
that's a lot of money.
I mean, our spending budget was like $200 a month.
Yeah, our spending budget was pretty. Yes.
I think it was $250 each.
Yeah, exactly. And another episode, we're going to go into what we did early on to start building credit and all that good stuff, but we're not going to dive into that here on this episode. But all right, so we're coming up on 41 minutes, and we've gotten to the point where we're finishing up college, we're working, we're kind of at that point now where we are going to really graduate from college, but also make kind of major leaps in our traditional day jobs in terms of not just our daily responsibilities, but our income. And then what we really were doing during that time with the money that we were making to set us up, for whatever that next phase is going to be. And I think that's going to be a good place to pick up in the next episode, because that's really when things started to kind of come together. And it was around that same time, or at least within the same 2-3 year period, where we started to get into real estate investing. You were not a realtor at the time.
Nope. Yeah. So 2009 is when we bought our first property.
Yep. That's when things really started to kind of pick up speed. And we also really started to connect the dots on, what the possibilities were.
Right.
And that's it. Things got really, really, really exciting. And frankly, they haven't slowed down at all since then.
That's kind of when we realized, wait a minute, some of this traditional
path
advice
that
we're all just kind of taught about finances, we quickly realized there's a lot missing here that we need to be implementing in our lives.
Yeah.
And so
the concepts of the 1950s were not really applied or applicable to the time that we were in.
So we'll definitely get into a lot of that.
For sure. Awesome. Well, I think this is good. This is a good start. We really want to thank everyone for tuning in to this first episode, one of many, of A Couple of Bills podcast. Please be sure to subscribe and definitely add a rating and a comment on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify, and anywhere else that you enjoy your podcast. And stay tuned for the next episode. Oh, and be sure to check us out on Instagram, A Couple of Bills podcast, and subscribe to our YouTube channel as well. All right.
All right.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, everyone.
See you next time.